My name is Robyn Buckley, and I am an attorney with the law offices of Jason Taylor. I have been working with Jason for a total of about 5 years, but I have been practicing for almost 20 years. The primary focus of our practice is personal injury, wrongful death, workers' compensation, employment law. However, we do also take on a bunch of topics, and one that has been very newsworthy lately has been the impact and the relationship between COVID-19 and the First Amendment. So we thought our listeners for the Speaking Truth to Power, which is sponsored by the law offices of Jason Taylor, or our Facebook viewers or our YouTube viewers, would be interested in just some of the little tidbits with regard to particular the states that we practice in, which are North and South Carolina. The First Amendment is that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, of prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government or for a redress of grievances. So there has been some litigation that has been come up in the press recently regarding this. Most notably, the cases have come out of California and Oregon, and they deal with the fact that their church services have been included in their stay-at-home orders by their governors. During the whole COVID conflict, there has been an issue between state and federal. Which side of you come down on or support, it just is what it is. It's primarily been left up for each state to come up with their own rules and regulations, which primarily falls to the governor of each state. For where we primarily practice in North and South Carolina, at no time have the stay-at-home orders encompassed religious services. However, so they have been exempt from the stay-at-home orders. However, they do still encourage people to follow social distancing guidelines and also mass gatherings. Even though they're exempt from the orders, there's still a lot of questions surrounding, well, what can we do and what can't we do? For North Carolina, as of May the 20th of 2020, there was an indication that there had been more than 20,000 confirmed cases of COVID. And as of May 26, 2020, there have been over 10,000 confirmed cases in South Carolina. With regard to the North Carolina stay-at-home order, which entered into Phase 2 on Friday, May 20th, 2020, they had indicated while it again did not apply to religious services, they still encouraged people who were exercising their religious freedoms to avoid mass gatherings and to avoid emergency maximum occupancy. So there's kind of saying this new Phase 2 order is more like a safer at home versus a stay at home. South Carolina has now pretty much lifted all of its stay-at-home orders, but still encourages social distancing. It is important to note that in North Carolina, the social distancing guidelines are just that. They are guidelines, but they are important guidelines for the good of public health. Importantly, places of worship, again, are specifically exempt from the order. That also includes funerals, weddings, and other exercises of First Amendment rights, such as protests. I'm sure you all have seen or heard about ones that are happening in Raleigh regarding these different and various stay-at-home orders for particularly those whose businesses have been affected. However, the order still strongly suggests that any such activities, whether it is a protest, a funeral, a wedding, a church service, or any type of religious service, that they, again, encourage the social distancing guidelines. So you probably, if you haven't already, want to check with your church or with your religious leader to talk about what plans they are implementing. For example, I know some churches are lifting their obligations to actually physically attend Mass or whatever service it is that you do, and they are offering a lot of their services online, particularly important for those who may be elderly or high risk with other underlying comorbidities or conditions. So basically, even though all of these things are allowed in North and South Carolina, they're not recommended unless they can be done safely and intimately. So that's kind of a little bit of a conflict. You think, well, how can we do it? I know some churches have gone and done things where they have to sit certain amounts apart from each other, or they'll mark off, or maybe every other pew or aisle. Right now, per the stay-at-home order, for indoor gatherings, it's any more than 10, or outdoor gatherings any more than 25. Of course, that does not apply to individual households. So if you have a large family living under one roof, you are exempt from that. The order also does state that it is not intended to create a cause of action. So, for example, if you or your church or place of worship decides that it is not going to hold in-person services, you don't have a right of action against them to try to force them to open it up. They are allowed to remain closed. There is something in the order that talks about what a violation of the order is. The violation of the order is enforceable by law enforcement, meaning you can be arrested or get a ticket. I have not heard of any actual ones being implemented as of yet. If you have, I'd be interested to either drop a comment below or let us know. We would love to hear about that. However, if you have, it is subject to prosecution, and you are subject up to a Class 2 misdemeanor, which generally is punishable by up to 60 days in jail. As of right now, the North Carolina stay-at-home order is in effect until June 26th, 2020 at 5 p.m., which I believe is a Friday. Of course, that is subject to change at any time. It could be lifted by the governor, or it could also be extended. With regard to worship services, particularly as it pertains to the First Amendment, again, the North Carolina and South Carolina governors have avoided trying to have any type of infringement, and I believe on Friday, President Trump had come out and tried to, make a plea for all governors to lift any such restrictions as a violation of First Amendment rights. But if you do have places of worship and that go indoors, they are encouraging a couple things. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services has put on a guideline for religious services to talk about what they recommend in specific terms. But for the main part, they talk about the 3 W's. They say wear a mask, wait, which is their term for social distancing to make it cute for the 3 W's, which is 6 feet apart, and wash your hands or use hand sanitizer. So the 3 W's are wear, wait, and wash. Are what they are recommending for those of you who choose to exercise your religious freedoms in a more confined space or at your place of worship. With regard to that, hopefully we'll all be back to our new normal soon enough, if you're not already. Everybody has their own feelings about COVID and what's happening there, and I'm not going to delve into any of that. Wanted to talk a little bit about how the impact of the stay-at-home orders by the governors have been affected by the First Amendment, which thankfully in North Carolina and South Carolina they have not. But again, if you have been the subject or targeted for anything such as your choice to wear a mask or not wear a mask, those are also things that are prohibited by the order. We're not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do in that regard. That is, again, I think an individual choice and best left up to the individual. But if you have any questions about any of these, we are here at the law offices of Jason Taylor to answer anything that we can. Feel free to give us a call, reach out to us on our website, which is www.thelitigator.com. Thanks.